Hello and welcome to Sake Revolution, America's first sake podcast. I'm your host, John Puma, founder of the SakeNotes.com, administrator of the Internet Sake Discord, and all-around sake nerd.
And I'm your host, Timothy Sullivan. I'm a sake samurai, sake educator, as well as the founder of the Urban Sake website. And together, John and I will be tasting and chatting about all things sake.
Tim, it is nearly summer here in New York, and the temperatures are rising.
It's getting hot. I actually bought and installed a brand new AC this week. I am not joking around with this heat. No way.
Indeed, indeed. And you know, when I think of hot summers, you know what that makes me think of?
Maybe hot sake?
How did you know?
Well, our guest this week is none other than Ms. Sake Caliente herself, Chizuko Niikawa-Helton.
Wait a minute, a guest? Does this mean the Sake Education Corner is taking the week off?
Well, in a way, I think Cheese is going to school us on how delicious warm sake is. So we're going to get our learning in.
All right, okay. Well, let's not wait on this. Let's get her out here.
Hello, guys.
Welcome.
Yay.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you guys.
How are you holding up with all this quarantine stuff going on?
Well, I'm making a lot of pickles and sauce and jams. My body is getting fermented too. I feel like,
You're becoming like a Japanese Martha Stewart.
Exactly. I'm trying to be.
Well, I'm glad you're keeping busy.
So John and I both know you really well, but for any of our listeners who have not met you before, can you tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, and maybe how you got started in sake?
Okay, got it. My name is Chizuko Niikawa-Helton, based in New York, and I'm the sake sommelier and also the founder of Sake Discoveries. Sake Discoveries is a sake PR company. We are the giving a sake education class and seminar and staff training for many restaurants, and organize some sake tasting events, consulting restaurant sake lists, menus, events, something like that. and also most of my clients are restaurants and sake brewers in Japan. I'm kind of the branding for their marketing, and something like that. Yeah.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. And how did you get started in sake? Like, what brought you into this business?
Well, basically, I'm natural born sake person as Akita.
Natural born sake person.
Yes, because
in your DNA.
Yes, exactly. I'm from the one of the most rice region, Akita Prefecture. I grew up at the Buddhist temple in the mountainside in Akita Prefecture, and always, my life was pretty much surrounded by lots of the rice fields. So, rice and water is very, it's the where I grew up. And my father passed away when I was about 30. Till then, I was living in Tokyo. After graduated the college in Tokyo and working at the fashion industry in Tokyo. But I went back to Akita for taking care of my family because my father got seriously sick. Then I finally realized that how beautiful my hometown was. I was kind of, I believe that it's kind of typical, the countryside, the people's kind of complex, like always, I have only the rice fields and river. It's nothing entertainment this town. I really wanted to move to Tokyo, big city. I wanted to be a city girl, but I was a silly girl actually. And then I finally realized that how beautiful the town I grew up, and I really regretted that why I didn't care much this treasure in my town, in my home prefecture. So um, after my the father's the passing, I kind of wanted to learn something about my hometown. Of course, rice and water, sake, because Akita is one of the, of course, the most famous sake regions. And I took a sake course at the Sake's SSI, the Sake Service Institute in Tokyo. And I passed the exam and I got a certification. But I had no idea, about sake industry. I never ever thought that I gonna work this industry. But I just wanted to, spread the beauty of sake to the world. So I just decided to live in New York for a while because because New York is my kind of dream city, and so many people from all over the world living there. So I moved to New York, and luckily I got the job opportunity at the Sakagura restaurant in Midtown as a sake sommelier because I had the certification. But as I said, I had a certification, but I had no idea what to do because I never ever worked at the restaurants, never worked at the industry, sake industry.
So when you were at Sakagura, you
Mhm.
were like fresh off the boat. You
Oh
were
yeah,
just arrived in the U.S. and your
yeah.
English was more limited back then, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. Still learning.
No, you're doing great. But uh, how you had to learn on the job, right? You had to
Oh yeah.
just hit the ground running. What was that like for you back then when you're in a new country, a new
Oh,
language, and you're
totally.
doing a job in sake, which you'd never worked in before? Tell us about that
Exactly.
time. Like what was it? What was it like finding your way at that time?
Okay. Luckily, I think what my the former work, fashion business background really helped me. I think I had good eyes to catch what type of sake or theme they're looking for from their the looking, the clothing, or it's got a girlfriend, friends, group, you know even just color or pattern of ties or hat. So, I think, this guy likes this type of sake. Oh, this guy might hate this type of sake. It's kind of, and then
You
I was
kind of like
right.
kind of like
99%
reading
I was right.
people.
I was reading their,
So you
their,
you used your fashion training to kind of
exactly,
read people. Oh, that's
exactly.
I
amazing.
think
Yes,
I think we call that social engineering
exactly.
in other circles.
And also, you know what? I always told the customers, like, I always, mention that I'm sorry, my English is not good, but please trust me. I can choose the right sake for you. Please trust me. I always said that. But it was surprisingly most seriously, everybody trusts me. And then you know what? It's actually the my first, oh my god, amazing experience was when I saw the glass of Daishichi Minowamon, Jumai Daiginjo, by the
Mhm.
glass. That that price was almost, I think, a 20 something, $20, $24 by the glass. It's 100 milli, so it's about the 3 4 something like that. But you know, customer really appreciated it, and they ordered a bottle
Hmm.
right away. Wow, it's amazing. And then that experience kind of made me kind of feel more confident, comfortable to, the give more kind of suggestion to the customers with really, a little high end sake and a little more kind of, the expensive sake. But of course, I kind of mix with even honjozo or futsushu, if people loves expensive kind of luxury high end sake, I always suggest something a little, the honjozo or futsushu mixed too, you know. So it's kind of balance wise. Oh, this woman not trying to sell only expensive sake. I always kind of, made a kind of trick too. So,
That works. That's a good idea.
right?
Yeah, I think a lot of customers, even today, They come into a place like Sakagura
Mm-hmm.
or another high-end Japanese restaurant,
Mm-hmm.
and the sommelier comes over and says, "Let me guide you, let me help you," and they're
Mm-hmm.
like, "Phew." It's a big relief
Yeah.
because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people don't know that much about sake,
Yeah.
and to have someone come up and say, "Let me help you, I'll get you something delicious,"
Yeah.
I'm sure people really appreciated that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
Yes.
that's good
Yeah.
to hear.
Mm-hmm.
So
And I,
tell us a little bit about some of the activities you've been doing more recently with Sake
Recently.
Discoveries. You told us a little bit about your
Mm-hmm.
company, and what are some of the projects you've had recently?
Okay. The recently, of course, now it's a little difficult time to hold the events or doing kind of restaurant as the thing, but we're doing the webinars pretty much. So especially the every week, every Friday, my assistant and marketing director of Sake Discoveries, Jessica Jolie, that you guys know. So she is a host and giving the sake webinar every Friday, and we feature the one brand of sake, and usually the Kuramoto, the sake producer, joined our webinar to give a little special the seminar and tour and a little kind of secret, some of the kind of fun topic we discuss, something like that. It's kind of 1 hour webinar, but it's really popular. And another webinar is for more kind of private thing. It's like for kind of big the kind of IT companies, or it's sometimes they're giving a little staff training for restaurants. So if this the quarantine that didn't really have it, the webinar, I never done that. So I think it's kind of new thing, new business, you know for the opportunity for us.
and I'd say that around these parts, and also probably in some parts of Japan, you're kind of known for warming sake.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You want to tell us a little bit about sake caliente?
Okay, the sake caliente is the one of my project, which is introducing, uh, the more kind of unique way to enjoy sake. So it's like for warming or blending. It's kind of mixing, pairing. It's more like just easy pairing thing. It's more like kind of fun way making super easy cocktails, or something like that. So um, the started in 2015 basically. It's about 5 years ago from the Yopparai in Lower East Side. It's a Saturday night, late night after they close the restaurant, 11 p.m. They use their space bar, to give us a little pop up sake bar, sake caliente. So sake caliente is hot in Spanish, as you may know, but it's kari means like borrow something in Japanese, and en means connection, or the relationship, friendship, and te means hands. So sake caliente means like never happened this pop up without you guys support and help and friendship, something like that. So it's a little kind of the behind the meaning of
Mm.
it. Just hot sake, hot.
Well, when I was first getting into sake, there was
Mm-hmm.
a lot of stigma
Mm-hmm.
almost around warm sake because we didn't understand it. Because
Mm-hmm.
what I understood was, all right, when you go to a place and they offer you the hot sake, it's
Mm-hmm.
usually not going to be the best stuff they have.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then I started to learn that the premium sake is usually served
Mm-hmm.
cold. And then all these years later, I find out that Chizuko is doing a hot sake pop up,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, wait a minute,
Mm-hmm.
that's I have to try. I have to check this
Yeah.
out. This is different. I need
Mm-hmm.
to see what's going
Right.
on here because
Yeah.
this flies in the
Mm-hmm.
face of everything.
Yeah.
And then so how did you then go about like finding like what would the best sakes to be served in this way, and then the best temperatures for these sakes?
Okay, that's the common question. Okay, so easy answer is if you don't see any ginjo or daiginjo word on the label, it's super safe. It means Jumai Honjozo Futsushu. So it's no ginjo or daiginjo. It's definitely its safest way to heat it up. Even you forgot to turn off the heat, that's fine. It's many people say, oh, you know what? Oh, I did it too much. Oh, I lost, the flavor. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, or something. Don't worry. Sake is not the weak, especially that type of, the full body style sake. So, but ginjo, daiginjo is the many people think, oh, it's too delicate, it's too good to heat it up. Oh, hot sake is supposed to be, the served with cheap sake, low quality sake. So, why I wanted to, start sake caliente because of that. Many people misunderstanding about hot sake. So hot sake is, it's great way to enjoy the sake, and then even ginjo, daiginjo. If the heat it up right way or right temperature, it's really good. And then another safest way when you wanna, that you wanna enjoy ginjo or daiginjo hot sake, easiest to answer, you pick sake from Niigata. Niigata prefecture. Yes.
Tim, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah.
That sounds like solid advice to me.
Yeah, seriously, that's my always, many people think, oh, it's a little difficult to choose sake for warm. Oh, which one is the best? It's too many kinds. Okay, two answers. you know, no ginjo, no daiginjo. It's totally fine. And if you want to try something a little, the ginjo, daiginjo style, the easy answer, pick from Niigata. Because in general, Niigata sake doesn't have much, too much fruity or floral notes. So, even heated up too much, too high, you know, Niigata sake is really, really clean. It's still, the keep the quality and the flavor. It's really, really beautiful. And many people, some people say, oh, don't heat too much. Like Atsukan is extremely hot and Nurukan is kind of lukewarm. But to be honest, lukewarm it's when you pour sake into your cup, the lukewarm sake,
Mhm.
you know, it's easy to get cold right away,
Yeah.
right? So, you know what? Actually, I like a little more, you know, high temperature, to be honest, even ginjo or daiginjo. Of course, that you can heat it up, the warm the sake cups, but you know, it's definitely a little higher temperature is more. If you like hot sake, definitely, you love a little higher temperature. It's more comfortable, and you enjoy the difference, the temperature between the cold and hot. It's lukewarm. Lukewarm is, mm, if you drink lukewarm, for me, I enjoy. I'd rather to have cold sake.
Hmm.
Yeah, or room
Interesting.
temperature.
Or room temperature.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, we each brought in a sake today to taste
Mhm.
together.
Mhm.
And the mission was to bring in a sake that we think is good for serving warm.
Mhm.
And we wanted to talk to you about that and taste a little bit together.
Of course.
So what we usually do is we take just a couple minutes and everybody can just introduce their sake,
Sure.
and then we'll go one by one and taste them. So Chizuko, why don't you start as our guest? Why don't you tell us which sake you brought?
Ta-dan! This is my favorite sake for warm, Daishichi Kimoto Junmai.
Daishichi Kimoto Junmai, and that's
Yes.
from
Fukushima Prefecture. Yes. So this sake is Junmai and Kimoto style sake. So Kimoto is, one of the very old-fashioned brewing method style sake. So tastes much more bold, creamier, and a little bit, that you can taste a little kind of lactic acid flavor, like a yogurt. And this sake is brewed in 2016, so it's about 4 year aged. And many people, it's daishichi is always printed their brewing year, and some people think, oh, this sake is so old, must be really bad. No, it's aged sake. Some sake is really great for aging. So Daiichi is one of the king of aging sake. The sake for aging.
Awesome.
Mhm.
All right, John, what did you bring today?
Well, I brought the Gozenshu 9 Junmai from Okayama Prefecture. And it is a Bodaimoto, which I'm sure we'll get into with more depth in another day, another episode. But this one is very food friendly and very warming friendly, from what I understand. So,
And what's the grade for that sake?
it's a Junmai.
A Junmai. Okay. All right.
And Tim?
Well, I was recently in a liquor store and I came across this sake that I haven't had in a long time, but I knew we were going to be doing an episode on warm sake. So I brought Kurosawa Junmai Kimoto. So Chizuko and I both have Junmai Kimoto sakes. And we haven't talked much about Kimoto, but it's a production method that gives a little bit of an earthier flavor to sakes and maybe a little bit more dimension and structure. So it's interesting that Chizuko and I chose the same classification of sake, but from different regions. This Kurosawa Kimoto Junmai is from Nagano Prefecture. And it's a really affordable sake. I think it's one of the least expensive imported premium sakes you can get. And I remember this has been exported for a long time. I remember drinking this even years and years ago. So that's what I brought. So Chizuko, why don't you start us off? And you can, if you want to go ahead and
Mhm.
pour your sake
Okay.
and let us know about the aroma and what you think of the taste.
Hmm. Smells like vanilla and caramel, almond. Mm. Wow. It definitely, it's really mouth feel. It's really more like a creamy, buttery. It's really, uh, wow. I haven't had this sake for a while, so it's definitely kind of made me kind of emotional. Yeah, Daishichi is one of my, the very, very special sake. Actually, my first, oh my God, sake brand, after I moved to New York. So it's Daishichi has so many kind of story, but this sake is definitely, it's, definitely not fruity notes or not the floral notes. So definitely it's one of the best, highly recommend to the having warm. Uh, Definitely, the Kimoto has the much more depth and robust flavor texture. But at the same time, Daishi's Kimoto is really round and creamy,
Mm-hmm.
so soft. So it's definitely even heated up. The softness is much more, much rounder than having chilled or room temperature. So I really want you to try this. Also, that you can add a little bit, tiny bit of whiskey or bourbon mix. It's really
Ooh,
good too.
that sounds like fun.
Yeah, believe it or not, it's really good. Maker's Mark is so good. Tastes more caramel.
So we talked a little bit about recommended serving temperature. So I wanted to ask you, what temperature do you recommend for your sake? And can you give us one idea for food pairing with your daishichi?
Okay. Daishichi, actually, any temperature is great. But especially this Daishichi Kimoto, the Jumai, this one is the best temperature is actually room temperature or, um, well, my favorite temperature is a little higher, like the 120
Mm,
or even higher a little bit. So people might think, oh, it's too hot. No, don't worry. It's still so good. And then you can enjoy the really high temperature and it goes down. It's kanzamashi. It's kind of little by little kind of getting cold. That difference you can enjoy.
nice. Tim, why don't you go next?
Sure. So I again have the Kurosawa Junmai Kimoto. I'm actually gonna pour this right here. Yeah, it smells like a bowl of steaming rice with a drizzle of caramel on it. That's what it
Ooh.
smells like. There's a little bit of a caramelly sugar note,
Mhm.
and there's also a ricey note. But it's really wonderful. This is from 2019, so this isn't. It's from November 2019, so it's not aged. It's right in the zone for, I think, for drinking. But as Chizuko said, these types of Junmai and Kimoto sakes are really stronger than you'd think. And if you leave it out or you forget about it for a year, it's not really a big deal, right, Chizuko?
No, no, not at all. Not at all. Sometimes when I find really, really old, the old sake at the liquor shop, I always feel like, oh my goodness, I found a special treasure. I always get that kind of feeling.
Okay, so I'm going to give the Kurosawa a taste.
Mhm.
Mm. Yeah, so it has a very rice forward flavor. It really spreads on the palate. Chizuko, you mentioned Niigata sakes before that are kind of lighter and cleaner.
Mhm.
This one has more body to it, a little bit more weight, and it has a really dry finish. Like the finish is a little bit hot. There's a little bit of heat at the end, and uh, that uh, is such a food friendly, I think, finish for sake. Really dry, clean, and I would recommend warming up to about 120, 25. So around the same temperature that Chizuko said. A sake like this can really stand up to those warmer temperatures. And for anybody who's interested in the different temperatures you can warm your sake to, we're going to put a heating chart with all the different temperature ranges in the show notes at sakerevolution.com. So check out this episode and you can see the range of heating temperatures that are available. Okay, John, over to you. Let's
Yeah, let's have a look at this Gozenshu 9 Junmai. Now, Tim, last time I think we talked about, actually it was 2 episodes ago, we talked a little about Okayama Prefecture and their lean towards omachi rice being their local and the granddaddy of rice. This actually uses omachi as well. So I definitely have a type, but from a aroma standpoint, this is much more of this is like kind of nutty and oatmeal, I want to say, on the nose. Almost like warm bread, almost, even though this is currently a little bit chilled. I imagine that's going to open up as it warms up a little bit. Probably get more of that bread aroma, which is very unusual, very interesting. And then the taste is really unique. There's some caramel to it, but like not a sharp caramel, but like have you ever had like really smooth caramel, like really like very kind of maybe a little overpriced caramel. and some nougat like that. Like this, like it's like a very like this reminds me a lot of like a really good like chocolate bar in a way. It's really interesting. It's very, very different than my usual style of sake. And this is a kind of thing that's going to expand on those flavors, I think, as it warms up, as it gets to room temperature, and as you bring it to maybe a lukewarm level. I know Chizuko does not approve of lukewarm, but
I like it. Some sake is great.
I'm still very much dipping my toe in the warming of sake, so I take it by baby steps.
Okay.
So, John, do you have any food pairing ideas for your sake?
This is, like I said, a very unique sake for me. But since it's so rich, I'm going to say that it's going to be really compatible with meat. Probably maybe barbecue. Like something, something big. I'm not going to say spicy necessarily, but just like big, rich flavors, like, your grilled meats and stuff like that. I don't mean yakitori. I mean like ribs, like that kind of thing. That seems like something that would go really well with this. I gotta stop drinking sakes that make me think of foods I can't readily have right now in quarantine. This is becoming a bad habit of mine.
So, Chizuko, do you
Yes.
have any general recommendations for people out there who want to get started with warm sake? Maybe you can describe the best way to warm up sake at home for our listeners.
Okay. Well, I have so many, the equipment, but don't worry, it's super easy, and I don't have microwaves. So I usually, if you don't have those kind of equipment, so I just simply recommend to use, the boiling water in the a little, pot, and I use, for example, like kind of, the beaker or, mug cap or ceramic cups. If you don't have any kind of sake, the small sake carafe, tokuri or something, don't worry. Just to use your man cup and then pour, the sake into the cup, and then just, just put in the cup into the pot for a while. But you have to turn on the heater, the heat, the when before you put in the cap into the hot water. It's something
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah, you can use anything.
Yeah.
I've even, in an emergency, I even used a coffee cup once.
Oh yeah, that's
Anything
fine.
that
That's
is
fine.
safe,
Anything.
anything that's safe for heat,
Mhm.
any heat-safe Pyrex or
Oh yeah.
coffee cup, put it in, set
Mhm.
it in a warm water
Yeah.
bath,
Yes.
and it takes about 5 minutes
Yeah.
or so, a little bit longer,
Mhm.
and you just bring it up to the temperature you want. It's
Yes.
really easy.
Absolutely. I use a Pyrex, Fire King, those type of the cups, or yes, it's anything. It's fine. Don't think too much, and then also just the key is just find your favorite, the temperature and the favorite taste of sake. As I said, if you want to try something a little high end style, the hot sake and the light side, I highly recommend to try sake from Niigata Prefecture, but a little high end, but a little more, you want to enjoy a little bit more kind of fruity notes and a little more robust flavor at the same time. I highly recommend to try Ginjo, Daiginjo, but Kimoto or Yamahai method.
Hmm.
And then no ginjo, no daiginjo on the label. Whatever. It's honjozo, futsushu, junmai. Those type of bold style sake is absolutely great. Easy to hit it up, and the price is much lower.
Well, Chizuko, thank you so much for stopping by. I have a lot of things I need to try now. I need to get my coffee cups ready
Yeah.
and get some junmai and some kimoto
Yeah.
and go to work, because when it's summertime, I think of warm sake.
Yes, please enjoy. And yes, definitely umeshu yuzu hot is great too.
Umeshu. All right. Well, we'll have to bring you back to talk about umeshu then.
Yes, hot umeshu, hot yuzu sake, yuzu shu is really good too.
Tim,
Yeah, if
make
there's
a
one-
note.
if there's one rule I learned from Chizuko is that there are no rules.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
go out and have fun
Yeah,
and
exactly.
experiment with
Yes.
temperature and mixing. And life is too short to worry about rules. Right,
Exactly.
Chizuko?
Exactly. Yes.
Excellent.
Mhm.
Well, thanks again for coming by, and we are looking forward to what you do next.
It's great to talk with you. Thank you, Chizuko.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Mata ne.
Bye-bye. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in. If you can, it would help us a lot if you could rate our show on Apple Podcasts.
And make sure that you subscribe to our podcast wherever you download your podcast. We don't want you to miss an episode, and you don't want to miss one either.
And as always, to learn more about any of the topics or sakes we talked about in today's episode, be sure to visit our website, sakerevolution.com, for all the detailed show notes.
And if you have a sake question that you need answered, we want to hear from you. Reach out at feedback@sakerevolution.com. So until next time, please keep cool and remember to keep drinking sake and Kanpai!